We're on. Right, welcome to tonight's meeting, Planning and Licensing Committee, 20th of November. Do we have any apologies, Duncan?
Yes, this evening we've received apologies from Councillor Larson. I have also asked Councillor North and Morris if they could attend, and they've both given their apologies, although not only substitutes, although they are our substitutes. They both apologised and said that they weren't able to make this evening. So that's Councillors Larson, North and Morris.
And a late arrival. Late arrival for Councillor Brooke.
And we are expecting Councillor Brooke a little later in the meeting.
Think for the moment we record Councillor Bell's apologies.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Are there any declarations of interest? I have a declaration of interest if we're quorate enough on the house that's opposite me, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. Meeting management issues. Well, obviously we've got lots of people who are coming. I'm going to actually, what we do is we now split public questions, so we hear each submission and then we close public questions and then we discuss it and come to a decision so you can go home. I'm going to suggest that the successful one is first because I think that's going to be quicker and that we can spend a longer time on Glen Dorgle. So with your permission, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. So we're not, are we not? Yes, so that's what's happening. You don't have to second it yet. Right, I think we have one set of minutes, don't we?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't quite get to finish the others. So, yeah, 30th of October, that was the extraordinary meeting.
Anybody got any problems with the 30th of October? No, I propose we support. Yes, fair enough, but otherwise everyone is supporting it. Thank you. We'll wait with the 6th of November when we get there. Any matters arising? Don't think so. Right, public question time. So I'm going to ask the back row to come forward. You've done it before, Lisa, so if you'd like to come through and present what you're going to present. Duncan, can you flash up the old photograph? That would be great.
Yes. You're always there, Lisa.
Duncan stopped moving quite as quickly as the last time I saw him.
So, yes, indeed. Lovely weather for it.
Right, yeah. You know how to, I think the button, please tell us what you want to tell us.
Thank you. Good evening, I'm Lisa Solly. Pardon? Hope not. Sorry, Lisa Solly, and I'm here for application PA 24088480, which is 6 Chichester Crescent. And I'm here with Lee Crease from ARC, who is on an unusual situation where he's the applicant and the architect for the proposed extensions and alterations. Lee has purchased the property and is moving shortly with his young family for this to be their forever family home. The property currently comprises a 2-bedroom bungalow with a large garden that slopes down to the southwest. The application consists of an upward extension with first floor accommodation within the raised roof space and a rear extension that's 2 stories in height, with the topography in the area affording the opportunity to have a 2-story extension while maintaining a lower profile on the street side. A porch extension is also included in the plans, along with a widening of the driveway to provide additional off-street parking. Part of the garden would still remain and be enhanced with planting and landscaping. Materials would include render and timber cladding, which is featured in the area already, and a natural slate roof. The plans would reflect the approved and built extensions at number 4, Chichester, which also features a 2-story rear extension, and would also reflect the plans for extensions and alterations that have been approved with works commenced but not completed at number 8, which is to the left of the property when viewed from the street. Details of both of those designs are provided within the design access statement, and there's a street scene elevation where you can see the approved height of the building to the left and the as-built to the right and the proposed in the centre. Lee has actually designed both of those neighbouring schemes and so is very familiar with the area and very sensitive to the need for his own home to sit in a complementary manner between those 2 approved schemes and for all properties to ensure that privacy is respected. Other approvals for similar upward and rear extensions in the area have been approved at numbers 12, 20 and 26 Chichester. All of these are on the same side of the road and share similar settings within rear gardens that slope down towards the Gannel and Trevemper Road. In our view, the design is sympathetic and appropriate for the area and would not harm the amenities of the area or of neighbouring residents. And we're very pleased to see a comment of support from the neighbouring residents of number 4, who are to the right of the property and viewed from the street, and they're the ones who have developed their property already. We hope that you're able to support the application, and we're both here to answer any questions that you might have about the proposals.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll start off by saying I'm presenting this on behalf of Duncan tonight, and I did find your system design document incredibly helpful.
Oh, good.
The problem is it is too helpful, so I got far too many slides. The big issue for me is the 2 trees in the garden. I don't think there is a TPO on, is there?
No.
Would your client be, because the local TPO sort of goes around off the top of your garden, but happily misses the 2 trees, would your client have any problem if we looked into extending that term? Because they are so, I'll point out that they are so precious for the area.
I think that would have to be subject to a tree report, tree survey. I don't know the condition of the trees. I know that they are big trees and there is a lot of leaves and they do sort of cast a bit of shadow. But Lee's here, so I don't know if you wanted to sort of direct that question to him. But I think obviously it's not within the remit of the application as such. But
Worry always is because it's absolutely cripple the view because they're so beautiful, but they're rather large. So it's something that we would want to see protected. I don't. Sorry, is Lee the architect or the owner?
both architect and applicant.
Do you have any objection to getting a TPO?
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is get a tree survey done on the trees. I know from speaking
I think if you had a TPO, you can certainly maintain them, but you just have to do plans. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah.
I don't think this has anything to do with your application. I think it is something that I will probably be talking about doing something about.
A replacement with native trees would probably be.
They make such a difference. Well, you'll see from the picture the difference.
They're non-native trees.
Well, I mean, that's why we would need an inspection. But I was just trying to find out what the view was in terms of protecting the trees, because frankly, I don't think we want to see them chopped down. But that's nothing to do with this application, because your application actually preserves the trees.
Can I just add one more thing? That the extension.
That's just what I wanted to find out what you thought about it. Anybody got any other questions they want to ask or points to make?
I'm sure we'll cover it. What's the surface that you're going to be doing when you drive at the front? Is it permeable?
It is permeable, yeah. So we've only widened the finish down on the drive, and the rest of it is
You really should be answering down at the mic, so people who and we do get people watching us on Facebook, and so effectively, I think you answered the question was that it was permeable, and that you weren't widening the drive very much, which I would agree with. Is anybody else got? What I'm going to do is propose that we close public questions with the permission of the committee, and then we shift the agenda so your application comes up straight away. At this point, you can't take part anymore, unless we're desperate, in which case we sort of look at the sky and the answer comes sort of from the ether. Sort of. But effectively, officially, you're not allowed to take any more part. So my proposal is that we move it up. Fine. Right, Duncan, because I've got the fun of presenting this. Could you turn to and I'm going to whiz through them very quickly, the slides we've got. Right, so this is the location, as you can see, Chichester Crescent. It's near the lake, and it's used. A lot of this stuff I got from Systems Design document. So the next, if you just show us the next one. Those are the three properties together. Number 4 we've been talking about. Number 6 is the one in the middle. Number 8 number 4 has already been developed, and you can see the extension on it. Number 8 has planning permission to do exactly the same thing, but has not done it yet. So if we look at the third one, that's number 16 with its trees in the garden. And then the one, there's a view from the back showing what it looks like from the back. And then the next one shows the street in context. And the next 2 or 3 basically showing, although it is close to the Gannel, and you cannot see it from this side of the Gannel, you can see the trees, and it does make a difference to the area. But that's from the roundabout. That's from Trenance. The next one is they've got a beautiful view of Furniture World, and if you go further down Trevemper Road, there isn't it? You can't see anything. So that's. Right, so that's just putting it in context. Right, so if we start with the official, this is the official location plan. It was probably clearer in the green one. Right, I'm going to actually do something unusual, which I'm going to talk about the adjacent builds first, because I think it makes sense of what they're trying to do at number 6. So the next one is a picture of number 4, which is, there we go. That is number 4, and that is from the system design document. Shows you what it was like before, very similar to what we've got at number 6. And this is what they've done. That's the street view. So you've already got there. That's already been built. So then the next one is number 8. Now we had no problem with number 4. We just made no objection. We didn't say anything. Duncan must have been off that day. The next one is at number 8, and we didn't mind at all the extension at the back. What we objected to was the extension on the front, because we thought that was a very large porch that had gone past the building line, and we were deeply suspicious that they might actually try and extend that. So, but our comment was we've got no problem at all with the building, and it all fitted in, and it was very nice. So the next one actually is similar for number 8. This is, if you can do, well, that's not quite the one we're after. It's the one before that. Sorry, Duncan. Again, it's.
Was it a block plan in
No, that's what I was after. It's very similar to the other. The point I'm trying to make is that what's happening is very similar to all the houses. This is at number 8, as you can see, very similar to what they did at number 4. So now we're going to the block plan. We're now actually going to number 6. You can see there's a small increase on the street side, quite a large increase on the back side, which is exactly what the other 2 had done. I'll quickly look at the 2 site plans, which is the next 2. Over myself. The existing site plan, you can barely see it, but the spots are the trees. So those are the 2 big trees, and there's a small one next to it. If you go to the proposed site plan, and we probably won't be able to see that either, you can see the trees are still there. Plus a little tree that's actually quite near the build. But so although obviously they're losing some of the garden, they are keeping the trees, which I consider so important. So, going to the next one. I mean, I could stop now and say they're just doing exactly the same thing. This is the existing elevations. You're whizzing through, you're going quicker than me even. So that's the existing elevations, that's what it looks like now. If I'm going too fast, please tell me. Open up, and these are the proposed these are the proposed. So it's very similar to what they've done on either side. They've done if you look at the next one, they've done a visualization of the front. That's what it's going to look like. And the next one is actually looking at it in context. So this is the one that's already been updated on the right, and the height of the one that has now got permission, although it doesn't look like that at the moment. So you can see the height's very similar. Oh, in fact, the next one is a height comparison. See why I found the system design document very useful. So there's the red on the left is what's been given permission on number 8. Roughly the same height. The rear elevation, this is the current rear elevation. And what they're proposing to do with it is obviously make it higher. And again, go for this extension into the garden. And then they've done a nice illustration. They've done a whole series of photographs of what they think it looks like from the rear. It looks quite tall and thin actually, but you've got what it looks like from the rear on the left-hand side, and then you've got what it looks like on the right-hand side. So there's all sorts of information that's being provided. And I quite like this one, is the view, the current view from their back garden. If you look at the next picture, please. Sorry, the next slide, not this, the next one. That's what it looks like from their back garden at the moment. The extension is being put on the other side. You can see there's no privacy problem because they've shoved up fence and whatever that netted thing is, some children's toy, I assume. And that's really all I was going to do. I could show you the ground plans as well if you were interested, but really they're just standard. Steve?
Yeah, I mean, having walked down this road a number of times recently, I think it's obvious from the front of number 4, and the scale is very similar. Number 4 is striking about how nice it looks in the street scene, and how, a fairly dated street scene as people kind of live out their lives in bungalows kind of is apparent sometimes, and it's a really nice update. I'm still struggling with these trees because they're purely ornamental garden trees. They're not native habitat. They're not anything. If we want to save them, fair enough, but they are a big bush that somebody's planted, and they will, if they're 40 years old, they'll come down in 40 years' time anyway. You know, they're not, and they're not. You can see from the ground raise that's been done on them, they're not providing any kind of habitat to anything. So, you know, if they, I would, you know, if we can say, you know, if they do have to go a 1-for-1 replacement with a native tree, would be great. Not to force people to cut them down, because they don't need to be. You know, they don't. But they will be crown raised and you know, and eventually they'll just be a top heavy tree, and they'll be like the ones at Hendra, and they'll just have to be taken down eventually. I think going back to the rear extension, you have to be looking online to be able to see it, really. Even for the neighbours, you know, nobody overlooking. I mean, these trees block the view of the canal, so that's why they're raised up so high. Nobody with a view of the canal is going out and looking at their neighbour's extension, you know. So and you're bound to make the most of it, because that's the prime view. Your front is your open bit. You walk in, and you've got your picture windows and everything at the back. And yeah, I think it's a design that it maximises the kind of the street scene without taking away from the bungalow aspect. We have to accept that ridge heights are going to rise slightly, I think, if that's the case, because, you know, space requirements and things like that are normal, but it doesn't destroy the street scene. And you do along Chichester Close, you do have quite a nice vista of as it goes slightly downwards towards the end. So yeah, I think it's a great design, and I have to support it.
One point I didn't make, but should I? Could you go back to number 9, which is the site plan? Right. I don't know if you can see from that, but each of those 3 houses all face a different direction.
Yes.
So this one's got a panoramic view of Furniture World. The other one sort of looks, and then the one next to it. So effectively, I don't see any overlooking there at all, because I just facing.
There were no drunken revellers pouring out of Furniture World anyway, because that was 20 odd years ago.
Yeah, I don't think the trees have anything to do with that. We might mention them, but I don't think this has got anything to do with whether we approve or not the application. It's really just maybe looking at it. I quite like the idea of replacing them with a native thing, but I think I would like, but that's outside the scope of this. That's outside the scope of this proposal, I think. Francis.
I didn't have a chance to have a look at this beforehand, but I was just wondering what type of environmental aspects they had put to it, whether solar panels, and how much more square footage is the house now, and is there any other types of, like a ground source heat pump or anything like that included?
Levels of insulation in there, it's going to be environmentally conscious.
No, there's no surface water strategy that's been put in. It's like noted, South West Water.
You need to look at the surface water.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the debate about the trees. There's Monterey pines that are a standard modern day in coastal environment planting tree, and there's Monterey pines with TPOs in Newquay. So I'm not going to get into that.
No, I don't think it's relevant. I don't think it's relevant to this the decision on this application. I do think it's something we probably might discuss later on. Steve, would you like to make a proposal?
Yeah, I'm happy to praise we support the application. Support the application.
Council's reopening public questions again, and we now have a presentation from Glendorwell, which I think is the first application.
Do we need to vote on that then?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll second
Everybody happy with
yeah.
that? Fine. So if you'd like to come forward, I don't know if you've presented here before, you just speak into the microphone. People are listening online. And for Councillor, for Steve, the Duncan's very flash now. The Duncan screen now goes up on Facebook so people can see what we're talking about.
I've done that 5 years ago, so we should be finally caught up.
It took us some time. Right, if you'd like to tell us what you want to tell us about the...
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, throughout this process, we've engaged, listened, and then we've ended up by submitting some amendments to the scheme. We came to the Town Council and talked about it. We were asked certain things to prepare photo montages, we did. And then obviously we had all the comments come in from the statutory consultees and from the public. And I had a meeting with Stephen Kirby as the case officer to go through the key issues. What we did at that point was we commissioned some further testing and some further reports, specifically on the coastal zone and drainage. And then we actually made some amendments to the plans. This all had to take place still under the overall planning objective to restore the Barrow and improve the overall site against a backdrop of actually vacancy and potential for continuing dereliction. What we did though was we made, in our view, big amendments. We didn't approach this by looking at tweaking things as perhaps a developer would, but we actually made some big amendments. We had a plan given us by Stephen Kirby, and we replotted all that, and which was to do with the zone and the buffer. And we pulled back the whole of plots 4 to 9, which was the new build that replaced the demolished part of the hotel. We pulled it back by 2 metres. We removed the gardens, and we accepted that for holiday lets, you only needed a small patio area. Now, we submitted that with that being outside the line. I've had today discussions with Steve Kirby, and the coastal people are still clarifying that, but importantly, they're saying they just want clarification. So I think we have got a meeting tomorrow to actually say, can we pull off some of the details on the plan? Is it clear? I think and we're going to research that tomorrow, but it's a question of resolving the clarification. A line on a plan at 1 to 200 can be 2 metres wide, so that's some of the issues. And also there are 2 zones, and there may be some clarification that the line we've put is the outer zone, but we haven't shown the inner zone. So that's a matter we feel for clarification, but it's a significant change. Now what it also did was we actually looked then, if we're going to pull back those plots, we then looked at the design, and we looked to do a much more traditional design by removing some of the materials that were more modern. We discussed with Stephen Kirby if we're losing the original hotel to make it more traditional. We then actually increased the roof, the depth of the roof, so that the 3rd story was more dormer type rather than a modern block, to make it a traditional subservient block that was set back. So the view from Porth Beach, you've now got the new plot set back. Oh, sorry, is that my 3 minutes? Set back and subservient and different materials. The massive change then as well, picking up on from local residents, was we actually decided, because we wanted to not increase intensity and scale, because some of we decided to retain the villa. There's a twofold impact on that. One was because of the height of the new blocks and views across the site from what residents had said, but also retaining a little bit more of traditional heritage stock. So we've done that change. And lastly, we've done that. We're in discussions now with Steve Kirby, because there's been a new point come up, which I don't think came up last time, which is querying the height of the 2 plots on the headland. These are for want of a better word, the Teletubby plots that were sort of grassed over. And there's a query that, and we're talking of 350 millimetres. So again, we can talk to the architect and say, can we drop that? Can we resolve that? So we feel that we've made big amendments. We've listened, we've engaged. We've kept the integrity of the scheme. We've lost the unit, so the viability And interestingly enough, there's a perceived change from the heritage officer, where last time there was an objection. Now, because of the retention of the villa, he's now saying, well, I've still got the issue of part demolition, but the balance changes because you're keeping the villa. And I think this comes to the last point which I'll make. I don't want to overstay my time, Chair. Sorry if I'm going on too long. But the last point is that you have to look at viability, marketability, construction. The reports we've done has focused very heavily on the conservation of the barrow, removing the car park, removing the loop, a major benefit when you look down to Port Hedland. And what we would do with the parts we're demolishing, while some people say, well, you shouldn't demolish that, it's non-designated. We would do full recording, we'd put it in the museum, we would reuse some of the materials, and it's a line that really we can't cross, because if we were to do that, it destroys the concept of new apartments and units, and it becomes unviable. And the last permission that we had failed. So we're faced with that's a line in the sand that says, look, we now have to sort out a really good solution for Port Hedland rather than vacancy and dereliction. And we've made big changes, and that's the position we're in. There's a few little things we still need to do. So we need to clarify the zone. We need to look at the height of that plot 11. And we just also need to clarify some of the drainage updates we've done. There's been a comment about you're not contrary to CC1. Obviously, I'm not a technical expert on that. So I'm having meetings tomorrow, urgent meetings, to be able to go back to Stephen Kirby. And what I want to do is say, yeah, there are 4 things there. This is our response. There's a few. I think we're in the stage now of tweaks. We've made the big amendments. The scheme, I think, is going to provide something fantastic for Port Hedland. And we're now in this question of saying tweaks and also conditions. Because obviously, it's a very complicated site where when we move, if we get permission to move to construction, all the conditions about detailed drainage, detailed ecology mitigation. So all the draft strategic work has been done, but then we need to, we can't design that and spend money on designing the final detail unless we get a planning permission. Sorry if I've gone on too long, Chair.
Very much. Well, obviously, going to have some questions. I'll start off, if I may, because you've been talking about what the Coastal Protection Authority said, also the Environment Agency. The problem is it's so close to the cliff edge. The Coastal Protection Authority sort of says you shouldn't do a soak away unless there are good reasons for it, unless there is the local plan for the coastal management change area, what this are different, and we don't have the weasel words. We are absolute in the neighbourhood plan. We do not have a soak away that is within the exclusion zone. So effectively, unless you can sort out your drainage so you do not have a soak away within the exclusion zone. The other thing that is a problem, not yet, is that we know perfectly well, I mean, I'm sure you've seen Whipsterderry, that the Environment Agency are about to produce a new orange line, and it's undoubtedly going to come in a lot. It's going to go, heaven knows how much is going to come in at Whipsterderry. No, don't know what it's doing here, so you may be facing an Environment Agency saying to you, yes, we've said it's 16.8 metres with the buffer, it could be larger. But I will say that we have a whole policy, CC3, in the neighbourhood plan on drainage, and it is absolute. So we are very clear what you can and can't do. So you need to take those back in the discussion with Steve Kirby. I'm sure he's read them. Anybody got any immediate questions before we ask Duncan to present this?
Am I allowed to just comment?
Yes, please do.
Yes, we understand that, and we are taking this very seriously. We're paying a lot of money to expert consultants. I think the one thing that you have to bear in mind, though, is that we're talking about a situation where the hotel is already there, the conservatory is already there, and there are elements of drainage that are already there. So it's not as if we're saying we're going to do that and we're going to build in that zone. So we're actually taking away stuff that's already in the zone and pulling it back away. So I think there's a balance there to say that, you know, the negativity, the way that comes across is that we're actually dealing with the context of the fact that that's already there. We are now building the new units back where the hotel already is. And yes, we're going to work really hard the next week. And yes, we have to convince Steve Kirby, the EA and the coastal people, and we have to get everyone signed off to say that works.
You also have to convince us. Stephen, did you?
Yeah, it's mostly because, you know, and we do, you know, because people are used to like replacement dwelling permit development rights and things like that. But, you know, our coastal change management is crystal clear. We don't allow it. That's as simple as that. So if a building was to fall over, it couldn't, you know, simply because bad things have been done in the past, we don't want bad things to be done in the future. And we are looking, you know, just from a public perception perspective, if you look up at Whipsnade, you know, you can stand on that point and you can, you know, if the island wasn't in the way, you could see bits of well-meaning, perfectly authorised, scientifically reported building that have fallen into the sea in the last year. You know, so that's our kind of, you know, it's like I wouldn't say we don't care about the mitigation, we do, but, you know, the policy is very, very clear. It's black and white. There's no this bit and then there's a grey bit and then there's a black bit. It's black and white, and if it's outside the line, for me, no.
It's a coastal change management area for.
It is outside the line. I mean, that is
I don't think you're disagreeing with it.
the point is, it is outside the line. We've done further testing. The geology is totally different to Whipsnade. Okay, so it's a different cliff, it's a different geology, it's a different rock. That's been tested, but we're outside the line. The point that's now been made is just to clarify and prove that, into, as we say, talking about thicknesses lines on the plan.
Well, that's not quite what the comments online are saying, but you've heard what we've had to say on that. So yeah, I think. And you've got a question on the other point. Same point.
Yes. Hopefully, yeah, here we go. So, I mean, the main concern for me is it is exactly the same geology. I've got the geology map in front of me at the moment as a Whipsnade. Is this the reason that this is an inlet is going to be, there's a weakness here, and it's going to be picked out. With sea level change, with increased storms and everything, that is your really vulnerable point. And, you know, you're right up to that. I think is it that one's still on? So the don't know.
There's a television series on it. There's a television series just started yesterday. Like
that's the real point of concern. Is that there's a weakness here. The sea is going to pick it out. So the building that's going up on here and cutting on within there, that is the weakest point. So it needs to be way off from that. That is going to be the huge problem for the future for you.
Anybody got questions that isn't to do with the drainage and the geology? Steve.
Why is it called Great Cupboard? Why is it called Great Cupboard?
There must be a reason.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I feel this is not a question for our guest. Has anybody got any questions that they want to ask about this? Otherwise, I'll just close the questions and we will discuss get Duncan, because you've prepared the application, to discuss all the issues. Because we really ought to look and see what it looks like. So everybody happy that they've asked the questions they needed to ask? Right. Sorry, did you want to say something? Yes.
I'm not a technical expert, so we've got technical experts that we've employed, and we've got the coastal who have made their comment. So as a planner, I'm saying we need to resolve that. So I think it's a question of subject to resolving that, because obviously, as you were saying, there's visual and all the rest of it. So it's a question of getting to a point where we can hopefully say, well, we support the scheme, subject to sorting that technical detail out, rather than we object to the scheme. And the point is, we are not actually cutting into that area. We're not going into that inlet at all. We're actually we're 5 metres back from the current conservatory.
I think it's a question where the soakaway is. But
Thank you. Thank you very much.
it's going to be, it's going, I mean, I appreciate you've worked really hard on this, so...
But what we would like to see is support subject to, we need to resolve technical details, we need to resolve coastal, we need to resolve the drainage. But in terms of then the changes we've done, in terms of traditional materials...
I think you'll find that we will come back with a balanced response.
What I would say as an agent is that what we like is town council in principle support, subject to details, rather than what we object.
Well, that's down to us, I'm afraid. So, but thank you very much.
Just making a comment to you to consider. Thank you.
Right, so I'm going to propose closing public questions. Second to come on, so show of hands for closing public questions and for bringing this item up the agenda so Duncan can present it to us.
Right, you have to excuse me while I waffle on for just a little bit. A quick recap then. In the first part of 2020, this committee raised no objection on 2 separate occasions to similar proposals for part demolition of the hotel and landscaping works to reinstate the Barrow and the creation of new holiday use restricted accommodation. That scheme, which included holiday use restricted apartments, there were 18 in total, was approved in May 2020. However, development wasn't progressed. The permission therefore lapsed. In May this year, the applicants delivered a presentation to the Town Council regarding the current plans, which was for 13 properties. Then in June, the committee considered the application that described that scheme and returned an objection to Common Council. Whilst it was felt there were many beneficial elements within the proposals, and I think that a key to that relates to the Barrow and preserving that conserving that for the future. Key concerns were the objections that we saw that had been raised by the Coastal Protection Authority, the lead local flood agency and the Environment Agency. We felt that the proposals for surface water management had failed to demonstrate they would not impact the coastal stability. Councillors felt that the proposals were also at odds with the conservation of the town's natural and historic environment and cultural heritage. You also agreed with objections submitted by the Ramblers, who concluded that proposals would be harmful to the enjoyment of the sensitive landscape, and you shared the historic environment planning team's view that a scheme causing less harm to this non-designated heritage asset should be identified. And as we've heard, there have been some moves in that direction regarding the villa on the site. So, I was going to start off with a letter. The amendments letter gives various reassurances that the scheme is not expanded or increased in any way since we last saw it earlier this year. It doesn't involve any increase in the height of any aspects of the development. We are told that the amendments respond directly to the representations, and I think we've just sort of heard talk to that effect. representations including the coastal zone, the drainage report, the design response to a more traditional appearance for some of the units, and the removal of a previously proposed 2-unit block which would have replaced the villa. So in actual fact, that 2-unit block is not going to be progressed with, and the villa is going to remain. So that's as you can see, quite a complicated looking application site. What I thought would be useful would be just to compare the 2 block plans, because I think this brings out the 2 sort of kind of key physical planning considerations and changes that have been made. Now, one of these is set up perfectly, and one of them needs a little bit of TLC. There we go. Right, so that's the previous block plan, and I want to draw your attention to these units here, 9 and 10, and units 4 to 8 across the top. So plots 9 and 10, they were proposed for the site that currently accommodates the villa. So if we have a look at the amended proposal, you see that the late 19th century villa has now been retained at the expense of plots 9 and 10. This amendment has been welcomed in the most recent comment from Historic Environment Planning team as reducing the level of overall harm on the site. I think, as we've heard, though, there are other elements of heritage on the site that they feel are still up for consideration. So they're not giving a green light to the demolition of the historic section of the building, but they've certainly welcomed the retention of the villa. And then at the, we'll just go, if we look at the plots 4 to 9 at the top there, might be worth zooming in on that actually slightly. So that was what we looked at previously. You can see that you've got the coastline along there, and as we've heard, these have come back a couple of metres in response to the various consultee comments. Okay, I had briefly, just for illustrative purposes, really, just briefly brought up the this is the neighbourhood plan map, or one of the neighbourhood plan maps. This shows the anticipated 100-year erosion line plus a 10-metre buffer. It's my understanding that the proposed plans do show the edge of the buffer passing through the garden area of plots 4 to 8. This puts those garden areas within the coastal erosion vulnerability zone, not the exclusion zone. And a coastal erosion vulnerability assessment is therefore required. One was provided with the previous application, and that has been updated. It's a little bit too technical for me to go into, but it's that, you know, obviously there are consultees that will be able to look at that.
Interestingly, they're going for a building out on piles, I think.
Benefits or not of that.
Sorry? Okay, fine, thank you.
We have been told that there we go, that the gardens had been removed from these holiday, and so sorry if there's any confusion there. So this is an area of natural wild landscape. Previously it was gardens. These are going to be holiday apartments, so the need for amenity space isn't the same as it will be with a residential dwelling.
The red line is the buffer, is it?
Yes. Yes, so we're, yeah, so there has been, I think as we've sort of, has already been said, there is further conversation as to where these lines actually sit, because looking at these maps on this scale, it's you know, we've experienced this before. Merely the width of the pen that has drawn the line has been an issue in the past. So there are further conversations that are going to be taking place within Cornwall Council and the Coastal Protection Authority, I believe, around this. But you can basically, you know, we can see the steps that have been taken in moving this backwards away from that buffer zone. We also have briefly touched upon the appearance, a move towards I think following conversations with the case officer, a more traditional appearance. We can just have a quick comparison here. So that is what we were looking at last time.
Can you blow that up a bit?
Yeah, I certainly can. So these are the apartments that we are specifically, or the units that we are specifically talking about.
The stuff to the left is the existing.
Yes.
Design,
yeah. So this block here is the apartments 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which, as we say, have been moved back, but they have also been redesigned.
That's much better.
And so yeah, and so that's following the conversations with the case officer.
And where's the original?
So there we so oops, gosh, that's just reserved. Sorry, John.
Is there something left of the original building? Where's that?
You can't see that.
I don't think that we can really see that. So there you go. So that covers that. I think that we've touched upon some of the other consultees. The lead local flood authority now appear to be happy with proposed surface water drainage systems and have suggested that any outstanding detail can be covered by various conditions, including pre-commencement conditions.
Sorry, Councillor Hicks.
The CPA clearly still have issues with plots 4 to 8 and their proximity to the 10-metre buffer zone. As I say, I think that this is a conversation that they need to have regarding the extent of the lines. I think that's, I mean, we don't want to really sort of start looking at floor plans or anything like that. We could be, this is a big scheme, and we could be here for a very long time. Are you happy with what you've seen? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So my initial thing is, you know, I'm quite ambivalent about the original building. It's a lovely building, but I would challenge anybody to say they can stand in anywhere in Newquay and actually see it at the moment. Yeah, exactly. Unless you're stood kind of peering through a binoculars. Anyway, it's, you know, you can just see the top of the kind of like the mock Tudor chimneys, and that's about it. From that aspect, you can see that the existing residences, holiday lodges, are quite stark on the landscape anyway, and I think this change from the original is a much greater softening, and it will, you know, as if it's a natural slate roof, it'll darken over time and hopefully blend in a little more anyway. With the barrows, I was because I looked into the detail, and I was a little bit surprised at the height the barrow was mentioned, because, you know, when the barrows were barrows, they would have been higher. They've weathered and sunk. That's what happens to them. And anything, you know, again, I would challenge anybody to stand anywhere in the public realm and be able to see a difference of a foot, which is 350 millimetres. It's, it's a grade, and those, as they call in the Teletubby houses, they reference the barrow as well. They need to be a hump to reference the barrow, otherwise they're just a buried house, So I'm quite happy with that. And you can see from this aspect what the green is as well. I think it's much clearer on this that it's not gardens. It's natural cliff. I like the design. We need to remember that this was a functioning, vibrant hotel for a long time, and it is a loss to the economy of Newquay and to the kind of the local economy of the area as well, because we've got it's hotels support daytime economy, nighttime economy, 24-hour economy. I mean, a lot of people will. And so holiday accommodation does the same. It supports the wider area. We've recently lost, Glendoyle's gone, the Callicliff's gone fairly recently. There's a number of hotels, and obviously where that used to live as well. That that's all gone from that area, and it's we only allow building in that. We don't allow residential building outside the development boundary. So, yeah, I broadly support it. The technical aspects, again, I think that's something we need to look at, but I welcome this change, and I've broadly supported all the previous applications, and I continue to do that because we're a holiday town. I know people go on about fishing, but we were never really a fishing. We're a holiday town, we know.
Francis, anything you want to say?
I think I would agree with Steve, actually. I don't understand the conversation. I know the conversation that we were having before about the soakaway, so I'm going to try and just listen to your opinions on that. But yeah, I think it looks like it blends in very nicely, and all accommodation really so people can share our amazing town better.
There's a comment from a really useless comment from the historic people saying there's no changes, so we'll refer you to what we said last time. What did they say last time? Which is absolutely useless. I'm desperately trying to find it and I can't. What did they say last time?
Previous comment. This is the historic environment panelling.
Brackets archaeology.
So they wanted a condition that was going to involve a detailed recording of the building to be kept on record, future records, as a mitigation against the actual loss of the building. So at least there would be some history of the building preserved, albeit in a probably in a digital. I was going to say in a filing cabinet, but let's drag ourselves into 21st century in a digital format. I believe that was what they were looking at. Yeah.
How much of the original building is left, or is any of the original building left? I mean, you're right. The only place you can see it from is Treveldy Head.
Yeah.
8 bedrooms, yeah. I'm hoping that gives you. Hatched in red is what is being demolished, what will be lost.
Propose no objections subject to that the drainage actually meets the requirements of the Newquay Neighbourhood Plan CC3, I think it is.
Second that.
I think that sounds pragmatic.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's a considerable improvement over
Yeah,
what
we
we've
can't
seen.
suddenly object to a plan that we
No,
already know.
we don't. So, show of hands for no objection, subject to, but I will say that that is an absolute requirement. You're not saying we're not being shifted. If you cannot sort out the drainage, then that is a showstopper. But we're hoping that you will be able to sort out the drainage. For coming in, that was really useful.
Hang on, I'll be able to get back in.
We'll have a 5-minute break. So start again at 7:10. If you can switch us off. So welcome back, and we'll now return to the agenda. The public questions is now over. Where are we? Have we got any active consultations?
Sorry. No, we do not have any active consultations.
We have some licensing matters.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, sorry. Bear with me for 1 moment. Right. So I just need to. Sorry, I've just slightly confused myself. Hang on a second. Right.
No, it's not that.
Yeah. No. We're fine. Right. Yeah. So we have a renewal for Catchy Coffee. I'm trying to remember. I think that we've seen at least 3 renewals for this particular street trader. In terms of the corporate service office, I'm not aware of any issues relating to this one. There's the trader in question.
That was going to be sold originally, remember?
Yeah. So there. I think I provided some info on there. They trade very strongly on their sort of kind of vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free stuff. Yeah, and they are looking to trade for another year under the same terms that they do at the moment.
Yeah. Well, with no complaints, there's no reason for anyone to. So I'm going to propose no representation.
I'll second that.
Yeah, and show of hands for no representation. That's fine. And the second one is about the Sky Bar, which has been called into a hearing. Unless anybody's desperately keen, I will go to that.
I've already registered.
Yes.
I've already registered you.
I'm not going as Joanna.
And I've
Duncan
put
and I
myself
will
down
probably
as well.
be in the same room while it's going on, so we can have a chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see how it
So that's on the 27th of November.
We made a representation, really, not a particularly, I suppose I shouldn't say this in front of the actual hearing, but it wasn't the strongest representation we've ever done. We made the representation because we knew there was going to be a hearing.
Yeah. Okay.
And therefore, and if we didn't make a representation, we wouldn't have been invited. So we will go along, we will make the point, we will listen to the discussion.
No, I would say our main point of contention, I think Councillor Fitter is going to be sort of leading the charge against this. Our main point of contention was that we'd previously agreed, in inverted commas, a time-limited permission for that site, and I think that the applicant would like now to have a non-time-limited premises licence and planning permission for the site, and I think that that's probably the only point of disagreement, really.
Do we have any decisions on previous planning applications? I don't remember any
Well,
recently.
I do, and it's with a heavy heart that I have to say I've got 2 5-day protocols. They're from, because we were so busy last time, we didn't properly get to them. One was Ali's Retreat on 6 Atlantic Road. 2 councillors responded, both agreeing with the officer's recommendation to approve. And the application for 4 Penmere Drive, again, 2 councillors responded. The outcome was agreeing to disagree with the officer's recommendation to approve, and that was with you having the casting vote.
Oh.
So I think we had an agree to disagree.
I assume I was one of the 2 that responded.
You were. 2 councillors responding is we've done so well throughout the year with so many of these. I'm just hoping that that's not sort of casting the die for future ones, because I haven't got the time to be phoning people round and saying you need to read your email, you need to respond to this.
Yes, we have been very good up to now, so I would urge people to read all the emails that come from Duncan. I know the first one, they had actually made the changes that we asked for. We were worried about the balcony going across the bay window, and they changed it so there is no balcony going across the bay window, so that's fine. The second one, what was the second one again, Duncan? It was the 4 Penmere Drive. There wasn't anything particularly major on that one, was there?
No, I don't think there was. I don't think
No,
there was.
no.
I can't, to be honest, I can't remember off the top of my head.
No, it was. It's not a hugely contentious one, so we're happy with that. Right, so
we just need to ratify those decisions,
right, so
say that the process was followed.
all we're saying is the process. Show of hands, yes, everybody's agreeing to that. Thank you. And we finally get on, if I got it right, down to our new planning applications. And I think the first one is one I am presenting. Hang on, where are we? Just haven't quite cracked getting back into the... Here we go.
Yours looks so different, doesn't it? It's different.
Right. Oh, so no, we've done number 1. Number 2 is one I have prepared, which is on the former Hotel Confolio. The main problem with this one was actually trying to work out where the changes were.
It's quite funny, the people online are like, oh, it's caught fire again, they must have burnt it deliberately.
Oh, don't worry, I've got a picture. Right, Duncan, if you could...
Like it's already burnt, the worst thing as a developer you can do is have to...
So,
It makes no sense.
this is my first slide. This is where it is. They didn't even bother to tell us in this application, so I took that from the original application.
They don't have to with a non-material amendment.
But we have forgotten. That's where it is, overlooking the Gannel on Pentire Crescent. And if you'd like to do the next one, it's a close one. In fact, and if you look to the left of that swimming pool on the left, that is my house.
Okay.
So there you go.
Where do your courgettes grow?
Down the bottom. I published something today saying my courgettes are still growing.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, well, they're very small. They are very small, but they're still growing. Right, so that is where it was. Can we have a look at the next one? They're basically, what happened was they had their original application, I think, in 22, and then last month they got an amendment where they put a bit of extra on the roof. We've had a couple of amendments. One was, I've had some people worrying about the bat house going in. We said, well, they've got permission for that. So last month they agreed a more detailed one where they put an extra bit on the roof. And we're doing another minor amendment now. So if you'd like to do the next one. Oh, this is what it looked like on Sunday. They had a second fire.
It's already burnt. It just makes it hard for them. The fact that it keeps setting fire to it.
Well, there is some cynical comment. It's a very good way of getting rid of the asbestos, but
it's not. It makes it even more expensive.
Yeah,
Things.
And anything of value in there has
You can't burn
has
asbestos
gone.
anyway. That's the whole point of asbestos.
That's the only bit that's left.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be able to say. Anyway, so that's what it looks like now. It wasn't a ruin beforehand, but it's sure as well as it really is now. Right, so that's what it looks like now. And the next one. Right, I put this in for the laugh because this is one of the documents they said. Unfortunately, these beautiful mythical trees have actually hidden everything they were trying to do.
They look like Scots pines.
And what they're trying to do here is they're changing the entrance. So, and you can't see the entrance, so there you go. Next one, please. Right. So these are the diagrams from the extended. I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to make you search for the change. But that is what it looks like. This is what the plans have been submitted. Oh, the one interesting thing about the one before is they have slightly spotted where they were going to have white render. We were going to object on the white render they were using. So I'm hoping they've taken that because they withdrew that one, which is all materials. And the original design wasn't specific about what they were doing in the entrance. This one that got approved last month was specific and they've changed their minds. So that actually you need to look at the lower one, not the top one. This is what gets exciting. If you can look at them, this is what it looks like at the moment. If you could do it, do the next one. And no, that's gone back to the original one. It's the one after that.
Oh, right, number 7.
Yep. So it's a question of spot the difference. I've decided to make it easy for you. So if you could now go to the next one, which is the last one, you'll be glad to know. Spot the difference. Can you make it a bit bigger so we can see those two porches on the side? Yeah. What they are doing, can you blow it up even further? If you look at the porch on the left, on the right of the square, there's a little porch, and if you look very closely and you make it even bigger, there's a sort of patterned stonework on that side. Then if you look at the next one, it's got timber cladding.
Oh, okay.
So considering we approved the first one without even knowing what was going to be there, and they literally have changed their mind.
I can see the point of doing that without looking past from a design perspective, because you want entrances to stand out from the rest of the building. You know, so you just want it to be visually draw you to it. So that makes sense. If the rest of it's going to be stone cladding.
If you could see them.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a matching one from the other direction, but I thought, so I'm going to make a proposal that says...
We refuse just because they've changed.
I think no objection, because it's retrospective. I can say no objection, subject to confirmation that the timber cladding will the timber cladding will stand up to the weather. Yeah, the marine environment, which I think it does. So show of hands for supporting this non-material limit. Francis.
I'm going to abstain on this one because I wasn't here for the meeting where this one was put through, and if I had been, I would have not supported it.
What, which one? You mean the original? I just don't like it. Right. Okay, fair enough.
It's an absolute, shockingly, disappointingly banal piece of architecture.
Have you got your mic on?
Historic side.
Because if you want to... well, yeah, the good thing about it...
called Hotel California to be replaced with that.
Well, actually, I was trying to remember what it was originally called. I think it had been called... They've got California on it, and it really ought to go back to the original name, which I think was Penmere. But effectively, the good thing about it is it's completely obscured by the trees, which is why we put a TPO on the trees. So you cannot see it from the Ganol, and there's really not a lot to look at.
Have we conditioned the fact that they must retain the bowling alley?
No, sorry about that. Right, okay, so I think that's a no objection subject to. And welcome to Councillors coming in. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
We're now on the applications, so we must be on application 3.
I'm presenting application 3, PA 24/07969, 33 Pentar Crescent.
Now, this is the one I'm going to leave the room for.
Single.
For obvious reasons, I'm actually just as well you arrived.
Yeah.
The obvious reasons it's right opposite my house.
Single side. Do you want to take a chair?
Well, that's not actually. That's not a thing. It's just you don't get beaten up by your neighbours.
Yeah. Single side extension, new porch to rear, and a loft conversion and garage extension and conversion. I'll give Duncan a little minute to get his gubbins together. Right, location plans. So, excuse me for. We've. Yeah. So here we are. We're on Pentar Crescent. The access, the drive goes up, and then sort of like the house is here, and then it's got the drive at the back, and currently a garage there in the corner in the rear garden, which is access from the back. So if we can look at street view. Oh. There we go. Yeah, that one there. Now, the interesting thing that at the moment, if we can bear in mind that, I'm going to call you Steve, I'm going to call you Russell. There's windows, so obviously they've got upstairs at the moment. We'll have a look in the plans in a minute, and there's no staircase, so I'm not sure how they get up there. Right, so site plan. just to swizzy through. Okay, so yeah, that's the current site plan. That's the existing site plan at the moment with the garage here. So hardcore area then at the back, hard surface, and the garage there, access from the lane, and a basic, almost a square house, isn't it, with pitch roof, but it doesn't have the dormer on. I have got the right house with the street view, haven't I? I haven't got next door.
It did say 33. So.
Yeah. I thought I did check because I prepared this for the last meeting, so I haven't really looked at this for a couple of weeks. So yeah, the plan hasn't got the dormer window in the roof, and as we're looking at the moment, so the proposed, so then the proposed plan is going to be putting, is changing that dormer, but extending the front porch out, and a new pitched roof front extension here that's 2-story. You can see that it's matching then almost up to the pitch of the roof. Three windows, skylight windows at the back, a very little extension at the back. The extension here, and you can see that there's a flat roof extension with a skylight in. And then they're playing around with the garage at the back. They're still calling it a garage. We'll get to that in a minute. There we go, a garage at the back. So it's just going up. Yeah. So this is going to be a storeroom, and then the garage, they're raising the roof and putting 2 skylights in. And interestingly, it doesn't have a garage door. But we'll have another look at that in a minute. That's going to go through the French windows. So the existing floor plan and roof plans, please. So this is the existing plan. Pretty, standard, bedrooms and then the garage at the back. And do you see what I mean? There's no staircase in here to get upstairs. And it has an upstairs now, which I find a bit odd. So I think the plans are a bit missing. Yeah. So you can see that we've got this small extension here and the steps here. So this is going to be built on. So then if we have a look at the proposed. So basically they're building out from the front, and this will become a dining room with patio here, and then concertina French doors because this is what has the view over the Ganel from here, and then knocking this through, having this flat roof extension with the skylight in the roof. That's going to be a kitchen area, so kitchen, dining, living room. This is the staircase which is being put up, or it might already be there. I'm not sure as to what's happening with that. And then has like this porch at the back, and then there's a new porch going at the front here. And this is just like a covered walled area for the doors, like a concertina door from the kitchen onto paving, going from there. And then upstairs, then we've got these bedrooms. So I presume, I mean, because we don't know what's upstairs. We haven't got a previous plan from upstairs to know what's up there, whereas there's that dormer window there in the street view. So there's got to be something there. It's not like it's a skylight, just into an attic space. So I don't know what is there upstairs at the moment. Joe?
My only thought on that is that there's been some building work that's not currently in compliance with anything, but the plans are the proposal is to remove the current dormer, isn't it?
Yeah, I just don't know.
We don't know. Yeah.
We're looking at what they're asking to do.
Yeah.
They're not asking permission for what's already there. So if we're okay with this, then
Yeah.
we're okay with it.
Yeah,
It kind of doesn't matter what's there at the moment.
I'm just saying. So
But it's
I'm
obvious
just,
that it's not
I'm
there, yeah.
just saying that the plans seem remiss on that at the moment.
Do we have?
Input.
I think I
That's a
would,
comment.
I would sort of advise noting that the existing plans aren't a reflection of the existing building. That's really all you can do.
Yeah.
And then we
I mean, this planning application, if you like, makes it right.
Yeah.
So, you know, but it's we should mention that.
Sorry, so if I can just keep going then. So the proposed one is, can see the extension right side porch and rear, the Juliet balcony at the front. Yeah, upstairs over the extension. See, that's the Juliet balcony there for the bedroom then. So which is over this. If we have a look at the existing elevations. So, so the existing elevations, and oh look, it's, you know, it's there, and this is the current entrance. So this is, and so the kitchen window will be going, and there's no skylights at the back. We can see that. And then if we can have a look at the proposed elevations, then you can see that the two-story development over the front porch. The new porch, the new the new French doors, and the change in the dormer upstairs over that. So it gets considerably, you know, it's quite a big window that. So actually physically a big pane of glass. I mean, and then at the side, then we've got the skylight. So that's not looking over the neighbours. The windows at the back. Can we just have a look? I can't remember at the previous one. Are these windows already there, Duncan? East elevation. There are windows already there, aren't there? So, yeah, that's
one extra, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, because that's the flat roof extension here. Yeah, so there's windows already there. In terms of, you know, thoughts of like neighbours and things, can we drop the bar, Duncan, the bottom bit, so we can see the so at the back, so there's a back door from, you know, the kitchen going into the back garden, and I think those windows are already there, and it's got the new skylights in the roof. So the proposed garage plan clearly stops being a garage. This is, so the garage then is effectively a new building. This is a store. Can we, which has then a door from the back, so basically you can imagine then from the kitchen you come up there and then you've got your store, or into the back of the house. So the garage now has a window at the end, which is a little triangle window upstairs because they're putting a pitch roof on it, they're making it taller. It's got French doors into the garden, it has a door access in it and two skylights, so here. There is no garage door. It is no longer a garage. And it has cooking, it has a sink here and it's got a toilet. So I think it just needs something that it doesn't need a, you know, it shouldn't have a separate address, and but effectively that is a bit screaming out annexing holiday accommodation.
they're submitting this as a garage, aren't
It's down as a garage.
No, sorry. The last, if you read the last line of the description,
Yeah.
garage extension and conversion to new ancillary space.
Yeah.
Okay, so they are being quite upfront that it's
Yeah.
no longer going to be a garage, but as you say, it does look, it's got all the trappings
Just this
of
annex condition on it.
something,
Yeah,
something
yeah,
that people
yeah.
would perhaps, you know, it looks very annexy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does look quite
So-
it? Or a
annexing.
garden office, if you're going to be less than
Yeah,
potentially.
yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's the kind of thing that needs a
But we-
condition to
Well,
say.
family Christmas tree, don't you really get on?
It just needs, I think it just needs, it needs an annex condition on it. So, and there's no southwest water discharge, which is on your applications as well. So it needs its surface runoff, noting on that as well. That it needs to go to soakaways. And I'm pretty sure that there's no, there's no renewable energy on this at all. They've put a sparrow terrace on. There we go. Yeah, what can I say? Yeah, so the chimneys have gone as well, which, I mean, you know, they're not needed anymore. And I think that was about it. I did put a satellite view if you wanted to have a look at the satellite view, but I think we're pretty exhausted on that one, really. Joe?
I don't want to dwell too much on this, but coming back to this, does it have a existing dormer or not? It seems that some drawings have the dormer listed and some don't. So I think maybe it was a mistake. So, yeah.
I think, yeah, there's that, and of course, you know, if I think it's just we're noting that the current existing drawings are not necessarily true. You know, there's got to be a staircase going upstairs, and yeah. So I'm quite happy to propose no objection rather than support, because I think there's those few issues in there. So within that, so
If we object, can't we say we object because of the lack of clarity about the garage?
No, they've been very open about it. They've said it's
Yeah.
turned into ancillary accommodation.
yeah, but yeah.
Well, they referred to it as an ancillary space.
Yeah.
What we would just want to make sure is that there's
It doesn't
some
become-
planning condition on there that makes sure that it doesn't turn into a separate address. Something along those lines, because it's not suitable as it wouldn't be suitable as sort of residential accommodation. You could bung people in there for a couple of nights if they came to visit. Usually the annex condition will say something along the lines of friends and family. Limit the use to very short use, friends and family. We would just want something like that, and I'll make sure that the officer knows that. The officer will probably do that anyway, but we'll certainly mention it.
Joe?
I will second your proposal with the conditions about the annex condition and the query around the accuracy of the drawings. So, yeah, sure.
So vote on that? Yeah.
Lovely. Joanna, shout.
PA 24/08122, 21 Mellovrane Lane. Over to you, Duncan.
This is a carry forward from our last meeting. The officers were very nice in terms of giving us extensions on the applications that most of the applications that we weren't able to follow. Right, so start with the overhead. The pointer is slightly wrong. It's 2 houses to the right, I'm told. So I think it's this one here. Yeah, it's this one here that's marked 23 from the overhead. The only comment I'd seen, it may have been updated since, but the only comment that I'd seen was the no comment from site allocations. The street view. 21 Mellovrane Lane. Westfield House, in fact. So, location and block plans. Get rid of that. Yeah, showing the, I think the drawing there on the block plan, we'll just focus on that. So that's showing the garage and the proposed ground floor infill that they're talking about. So in fact we'll zoom in on that a little bit more. So this is your area, and the ground floor infill is this tiny little yellow bit that you can see here. Existing and proposed site plans quickly. So I've not looked at this for over a fortnight, so it's as if I've never even seen it before. Right, yeah, so the existing site plan, you can see the garage in question is just up in this corner here, and you can see it's got this kind of little, it's not quite trapezoid in shape because it's got this little square out of it. And here's our little bit of a ground floor infill. As you can see, it's we've got in fact we'll zoom in a bit more with a little bit of a sort of floor plan detail showing the kind of what it would look like as 2-bed holiday accommodation. What have we got next here? Got some existing and proposed elevations. That's your existing street elevation, much like the street view we were just looking at a moment ago, and so we can just dance between the two. So that's your existing, that's your proposed. That's your existing, that's your proposed. Might be useful at this point to have a look at the street view again, maybe. I just want to come over here a bit. Maybe not. Right, so that's because the drawing flattens out, it makes it look like it's right on the pavement. It isn't, it's right at the back of the, right at the far end of the drive. So, as you can see at the moment, it's that single story. Sorry?
Can you just zoom in again a second?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because it's got a residential door. So
that's as close as we go, I'm afraid. There's a lack of detail there. It might actually come up in the existing floor plan. We'll just have a quick look. I have a feeling that there might be maybe there's a utility space bolted onto the side of the garage.
When some of these areas were built, especially around Luxons and stuff, you know, there were things that were site offices quite often, and they.
No, I mean it seems. They've detailed cupboards along the side there. I mean, it almost looks like a little utility room to me, to be honest. But
probably used for something.
Yeah, they haven't given us a massive amount of detail around that. I think that last elevation was probably the most telling one. But we'll have a quick look at this one because, I mean, this is quite an ambitious little conversion. Is that the existing? No, that's the proposed. Because let's just zoom in there. So you'll see that there is actually a Juliet balcony being put in at second floor level.
Is that facing straight towards the house?
No, it's towards the Gannel.
Oh, it's towards the Gannel.
That's towards the Gannel, yeah. And then the other side is
The house is kind of sideways, isn't it?
is facing towards their garden and doesn't have any in towards the garden, doesn't have any windows to it. Proposed floor plan would probably be good to look at this point, just to get full idea. So what started off as seemingly a tiny little bit of infill is actually becoming quite a grand little conversion, isn't it, really? So ground floor, you've got your bedroom, you've got your shower, you've got steps leading upstairs to a second bedroom, kitchen, living, habitable areas, ensuite bathroom. There's flat roof element and standing seam simulated metal roof. Sorry, they're keeping an element of the garage. Yeah. My other observation was that it didn't look like there was any boundary treatment, so it doesn't look like they're setting about sort of dividing up the plot, not with this application anyway. And the vehicular access with the application says vehicular access with 4 parking spaces, 2 of which would be allocated to the holiday let. There is a decent amount of tarmac parking there, so is that enough?
Yeah. They might be tempted to just move themselves into this holiday accommodation for a couple of months and let the house out, get a lot more money that way. Steve?
Yeah, so I don't have any problem with this. It's a quietish road, Melonbrain Lane. It's near to NTC, so you've got the pub just around the corner. I can't see it causing. If it, that's a fairly substantial house with, like, say, 4 parking spaces anyway, so I can't see a massive increase in traffic. And they're all wide set buildings, so they're not on top of each other. So I think I don't see any reason not to support it. I am making a proposal, and I'd say support it, and with the condition that it is conditioned for holiday use only. That's it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm all for that in principle. I'm just concerned about that Juliet balcony overlooking the Garrow and that little pitch roof that's behind it. How far away is the house behind that? Suddenly going to get
that looks like an outbuilding. I'll see if I can get you an overhead
Can we just
view.
check on that, please? Because it could be subject to overlooking. That's all I was.
So this is the property in question.
Is it?
Which one is the?
Yeah, no, it isn't, is it?
No, it's not. No.
No, it isn't.
That one next to it.
Yeah, it's this one here. Sorry,
So
this one here.
That's the building.
So, yeah, I mean, this is the main dwelling. That I think that what we could what we could see was the top of a shed, which would be located somewhere around about here, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Can we just
outbuilding and the main building there.
Yeah.
So there would already be overlooking from. There'd be mutual overlooking from the rear of the house anyway. So I don't think it's going to create any new views at first floor level.
It's quite a distance, and it would be the rear, whatever that. What road is that? Is that Trevemper down below? My only concern would be I know the original house is white, but they're suggesting using render, and I would go back to them and say, make sure you use something that doesn't age in the marine climate. I mean, I think the whole of their house is render, and I'm sure they have to redo it loads of times.
It's a nice colour. It's clear. It's clean colour. I mean, it's not kind of blotchy, is it?
No, so I think you can do it with a lime wash or something.
Can we say as well, it'd be quite nice if you had some solar panels put on it, please.
Well, the G2 comments.
Yeah, the G2 comments. And some sort of like water deviation measures in there as well. Because I mean, this is an extension.
I include that in the these days.
If it can be.
The extension is like a square foot, isn't it? It's the same surface area.
It's going up a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, but that doesn't increase the
That's not increase the area, but it is extending to the sides. So
are you seconding it?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to send. Was it no objection? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I need to say that the usual prices anyway, but are we not just putting the usual prices on anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, show of hands for support. Show of hands.
I put on what you tell me to.
Show of hands for support. That's everybody. Right. Six, which is listed building consent. Oh, one of these things. PA 24/08506. It's Gusty Veen Cottages Chapel.
Indeed.
And it's from the Duchy. Why do they? I thought the Duchy had permission. Chapel, yeah. So it's not, it's chapel, it's chapel. I'm just wondering why they had to come to us. I thought they had the local development order for this.
So Gusty Veen might have been outside the area, mightn't it? Because it was originally, there were two private areas, weren't there? The one inside the area.
Looked at the last meeting, we looked at a non-material amendment to the development that's going to go into the sandy coloured area, didn't we?
But these
anyway.
are the two little cottages that are at the back of whatever.
Building consent, so it might not be covered by the LPA then.
Oh yeah. So what is?
That's a good point. So yeah, that's just showing the. Being hung with slate. The reason for this is that since the building was renovated approximately 10 years ago, the main bedroom has suffered from regular rainwater penetration through the west-facing gable end wall. The roof has had extensive repairs, repointing works have been carried out. This hasn't solved the issue, so an application is made to provide a solution that means the internal use of the building remains comfortable and free from water penetration.
Any problems with this? I suppose we ought to say subject to the Heritage Officer having a look at it, but I'm happy to propose support.
Yeah.
I think Councillor Hick was first, seconded, and just say subject to the Heritage Officer, but I can't see any reason why not. It all seems sensible.
Yeah, that's sense. Well spotted. We might make one in a minute or two.
This one, the tree works, that's always wait for just to see what the tree person says.
Yeah, we're talking about an evergreen oak.
We've got a tree officer.
We've got a huge
Has the tree officer responded?
No.
No, I didn't think he had. Yeah, so the tree officer has been asked about this. So the tree in question is located in Sunray Palm, but the applicant is at number 4 Tides Reach, which is these properties, one of these properties behind. The tree is basically growing over their boundary. So this is the view from. Well, no, because normally I think they would be, but this is within a tree preservation order area, so it requires.
So the normal rules about people
so you have to get permission to do it, but then you have to give the clippings back still. So you still have to do it. Yeah. So you still have to give the clippings back to the person that owns them.
Right.
But you need permission to do the works in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, there shouldn't be any reason why they, why not? As it shows here, they're talking 1 to 1.5 metres of reduction, no further than than that boundary wall. So yeah, I think that image there gives you quite a good idea of what they're looking to kind of clip back.
I think it's the tree officer can judge whether they're going to damage the tree at all.
Yeah.
It's not up. So can I propose no objection subject to the favourable report from the tree officer?
Second up.
Francis was quick. Everybody's shown, yeah, I think everyone's agreed. You're not agreeing? Oh, so before we rush into it, why would you not agree to this?
Yeah, I mean, you voted on it, so...
No, I'm interested to know why.
Well, I think, we've had this area with the trees before where they've cut them down already on the TPOs and things. And it will be interesting to see what the tree officer says. It might be that these trees are too small for the TPO to be included in the TPO. We had that issue before, didn't we, with the TPO area. I think it's going to be a case of that. I mean, if you look at the plan view, that you're basically trimming this tree in half. It's going to completely distort the shape, and it's an evergreen oak. It will then grow. It will keep growing back. So we're going to keep seeing this. I can see if they're going to say, right, okay, we're going to raise the canopy, but to shear off half the tree, I think.
But is that not exactly what the tree officer will say?
Well, I want to say.
Do that with the sycamores on St Michael's Road, and the way they're going to cut it is so that it doesn't come back. But,
yeah.
We have our decision. So.
No, but we have the decision. I think the point is well made, but I think. We would hope that the tree officer provides an appropriate report that preserves the tree or.
Yeah. Before I support this, I'm going to like.
I understand what you're saying,
but this.
Avoiding lasting harm to the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of. There's also, I mean, a disease which is wiping out the holm oaks.
Yeah. I think it's down to the tree officer rather than us, I think, is the answer. PA 24/08159, 7 Anthony Road. Are you doing that one, Sarah?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, I'm doing this one. So, yes, it's a front and rear extension and alterations to the driveway. So if we start off with just with the satellite view to see where we are, because they don't really put a good location map up just to see. So we're overlooking the Ganol. Can we just beam in on that again? Yeah. So if you just from looking at this, if we can, you can see from that basically all those houses, and we'll see that in the street view in a minute, that everyone has a front garden in front of their house. So if we just look at the street view, then.
Which side of the road is it?
The uphill.
They're all up high.
Yeah, they're all up high, and they've all got a front garden and a little drive to the side of it. And driving up and down the road, then they're all like that.
They're a horrible area to canvass.
So if we look at the site plan. So site plan, please. Yeah, existing site plan, that's it. Thank you. So here we have basic house, we have our front garden at the front, and we have the garage here, which is this little extension, and this little extension back and the back garden. If we go to the design statement, page 3, it has the existing, if we can blow that up, It has the existing and proposed quite handily side by side. So this is the existing here with the garage. And what they're proposing then is widening the garage, keeping the garage, widening it so it loses the steps and the path at the side, and then putting a new room on top with a corner, I think a corner window there, Duncan, isn't it? Can we enlarge it any further? I think that's
sure.
a corner window. A new little porch, a new little front porch here to go in, and then extending out the back for a bedroom at the back. This is then going to be a large window here. Then if we...
So is the house going to be on 2 levels?
No.
Effectively, they're building out.
They're building
over
out.
the top of the garage.
Over the top of the garage.
When you look here, they're extending from here out over the top of the garage.
So,
the steps,
these steps go. Those steps go. So they're extending the width of the garage, keeping the garage, and then they've got a new port. Well, yeah. So, so then if you scan slowly down, Duncan. And stop. Okay. So this is where potentially then I start having an issue. Basically, they're digging out the whole of their front garden and making that car parking. And with a new set of, so all of that is going with a new set of steps at the side. So a flat entrance. They've still got that. They've still got that there.
That's the neighbour.
Oh, is that okay?
Is that right?
Yeah, I think it might.
No, I think that's next door.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the neighbour.
Yeah, that's the neighbour next door. So this is their garage. They have space here. I'm not sure that there's like it's double yellow lines in front of them, so they do have parking outside here on the road. So
make a difference to the street scene.
and it would set a precedent as well. There's no indication of a permeable surface or drainage plan, and there's no renewable energy. But the main thing is really that change in street scene in the long term. So I haven't got an issue with the building as such. It's the car parking in the front here.
I still have a problem how it works. So you
So-
put
but
up the
so-
steps on the right hand side. And how
These
do you get it-
these steps are going.
Yes.
And there'll be new steps
And
from where they've got
so
their gardens.
so basically the steps are under that. So they're putting new steps in at the side,
So the porch
and
is up.
there's that little dark rectangle there. It's going to be
which
a new
links
porch.
to the original house. How do you
Yes,
how do you get into whatever they got in the garage? Do you go down the
it's
steps?
all on level.
No, it's on one level because the garage is below.
So the garage stays,
Yes.
although it becomes a bit wider, but they're built along the top of it.
Yes.
So go back to the street scene.
Just extended the house forward, and obviously it's got
Got it,
sits
yeah.
on top of the garage, yeah?
Yeah, with then a Juliet balcony on top of the garage.
These, waving,
Yes, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to propose objection to this. I think the change to the street scene, we've got a nicely tiered bungalow style kind of thing with bungalows raised on kind of like, what you want to almost call them like earthwork gardens with a nicely tiered thing down. There are individual driveways, but they've generally been maintained. There are some that have got hard surface gardens and things like that, but there's nothing where the entire thing is. They are gaining a parking space. I'm assuming because some of those old 60s garages just aren't big enough for cars anymore. So they're gaining a parking space. They will still be able to park in front of it, and they will have one parking space on the road. So that's 3 for what is a large bungalow. And I can't see the need to create off-street park. The other thing with obviously creating a wide drop curb is loss of amenity parking to everybody else, because they won't be able to park in front of the drop curb. So, it's not a particularly busy road. So first come, first served works quite well. Yeah, so I would say I propose objection to that based on those.
Before you vote, can I ask a question? What are they? They're widening this garage. I mean, it looks as if it's widening to the point where it takes in those steps.
One at a time.
What are they doing with that space?
So it widens the garage building, but they're not changing the width of the doors.
Right.
If you go back and look at the elevation, I think So is that existing elevations though, Duncan?
Yeah.
That's existing.
This is proposed.
Oh, is it proposed?
Yeah.
No, that's existing.
Oh no, sorry. It said proposed in the bottom corner.
There's nothing wrong with having been.
So you see, that's the same door, and it has this corner window. It's also actually, when you look at it and you look at the view, the up and down, I'm a bit concerned as to the implications. That I think it's going to, again, that's going to be setting a precedent for.
So, I mean, I've already proposed objection.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we're all coming up with other reasons to object,
Is there a
then.
seconder for objection? Francis?
Yeah, I like the extension over the garage, but it is that taking out of the garden.
It is a beautiful open
Yeah.
plan, and it is setting a precedent for urbanisation. So, yeah, I'm happy to. Well, a show of hands for objection on that basis.
I'm going to abstain.
Fair enough.
I mentioned the lack of the permeable surface as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the usual things, really.
If they were to approve it, then we'd expect to see solar panels, blah blah blah. But I just think it's a shame to lose.
Why do they need 4 parking spaces? Garage, space in front of the garage, and 2 hard standing. And then in front of the.
Sorry, can we extend the meeting, please?
Oh yes, sorry.
Oh yeah.
Extend the meeting until well 5:30, I guess. But I don't think we're going to need
I'll,
this.
I'll second.
Show of hands for extending the meeting.
Yeah.
Better
So
Right,
that one-
I'm doing application 9 then as well. So PA 24/0821810. Oh, how do you pronounce this? Carfull Avenue. Michael Carfull. Carfull. Cartmill Avenue.
Number 10.
Yeah. Rear extension and first floor extension as a bedroom. So it's basically going from 2-bedroom to a sitting room and additional bedroom needed for family to save moving, it says in the design statement. So I don't think this should take long. Yeah, Google Map again, just to show where we are. Yeah, so it's by the town council allotments in Tren Creek, on the little. So these are the allotments and those are the allotments here. So the railway line. Yeah, so it's a little cul-de-sac. So even though the bubble shows it's this property, it isn't. It's actually this one in the middle here. In there. It's going to be in the middle there. Okay, not where the bubble is.
Why is it an avenue?
Street view, please. Yeah.
Illusions of grandeur.
Yeah.
And twiddle round.
Tree
There we
line
go.
street.
It's the sandwich house in the middle. That's just set back. So it's balanced on either side of the I'll call it the road, the avenue. Yeah, the classic sort of like interwar housing, isn't it? And you see it's got a little front porch and things. So, and if we can have a look then at existing block plan. There we go. So big back garden, that little front garden, and yeah, with its neighbours. And then the proposed block plan, which you'll see is then at the rear.
Completely blank.
There we go. So it's got a little, it's got this little extension in out the back. So my main, because we haven't got a view out the back, and it's going to be a 2-storey extension. The main problems that I can see is particularly for shading for number 8.
Is that a north-south view? Is that grid north-south? Yes, it is.
Yeah,
so it's east-west sun, so it's not showing anything. It's left to right, the sun would go.
Well, it will. Oh, wrong way. It will do when the sun's over on this side in the summer. Then it's going to be shading, because the sun swings round to the northwest.
I know, you don't need to explain how the sun works. That's fairly patronising. I know how the sun works, but.
Okay, yeah, it's also patronising that you're saying that. Basically, I didn't know what it meant either. So I have a concern then of shading, particularly with number 8. You can see it doesn't actually go completely along the back, so 12 isn't an issue. So if we look at the existing elevations and plans, and we don't need to look at the front.
They built that
it's
on
to
its
the back.
side.
Couldn't. Right,
Just
there we
state
go.
the obvious.
Oh, keep going around. There we go. So that's existing. So this is the front. We're not really bothered about the front. So this is the back, and you can see it classic. It's like a playaway house, isn't it? With the door in the front. And we've just got the staircase then, going at the back. So then if we then look at the proposed elevations then, Duncan, you can see then this is the extension with new French windows coming into the back, and a new window at the side, and that the door into the back garden then is at the side here, because it doesn't fill right across the back of the property. There's no windows on that side at all either. So, and it is extended with a flat roof. It comes out quite a long way. If you imagine that's over half the size, the width of the building being extended out the back, with, as they say then, with a bedroom upstairs and. What are they saying it is downstairs, Duncan?
A sitting room.
Yeah, sitting room downstairs.
Sitting room and, what does that say, book room?
Boot room.
Oh, boot room.
Yeah, not
sorry,
book. Oh, that would be a dream, wouldn't it?
room.
Have a book room, yeah. In other words, a library. What I've noticed, I've put the I put the design statement on if you needed to look at anything from it. Basically, it needs a drainage plan. And none of the neighbours actually in that area, looking at the satellite image, do have an extension. So again, it will be a precedent. So in my mind, sort of like. I'm quite happy to propose no objection, but that shading needs to be checked and it needs a drainage plan.
I think it's subject to no effect on the amenity of the
Yeah,
adjacent two houses. I'm always a bit worried about something stuck on the back in the middle of a terrace.
How much larger is it than permitted development extension? Because it's not. It's right. They've only gone a little bit bigger than what they'd get surely for. I know it's 2-storey, but it's a taller than that building, isn't it?
It's quite a big extent.
Yeah, it goes back fairly far, but I mean it's.
In terms of a proportion of the house, it's quite a large proportion of the house extension on that. Joe?
I'm happy to second. Are you looking for a seconder? Yeah. I'll second the no objection.
It's strange because those middle ones, because the way they designed them with the fronts having no immediate overlooking, say, privacy windows, so they set the middle one back. The middle one isn't set further back at the back, so it's a smaller building front to back. So I can see what they've done there.
Set a precedent, so them on either side would do the same thing.
Yeah.
They would have less concern.
Yes.
Because there's plenty of room in those gardens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's just let the planning officer take a look and make sure there's no shading and no effect on the amenity. There's no comments online.
Yeah.
So show of hands with no objection on that basis? Splendid. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Massively appreciated.
Right, that's the end of the applications, isn't it? Hooray.
It looks like
Right.
it.
So, we've flown through. So, we've got financial state. Well, we do
I wouldn't say
actually have
flown.
to agree a budget.
Oh, how big is it this year?
Well, it's the same as it was last year, which is 2,500. It
Now-
used to be 5,000, but they've gone down to 2,500. And the idea is that we collect 2,500 for however many years it's going to be until we get to the local plan. And the new local plan, new neighbourhood plan, and we should have about £20,000 by the time we get there, because it's at least 2 years away, if not 3 or 4.
Again, a lot really just depends what happens in the interim with planning changes. You know,
Now, I'm
it's
going to talk about that when we've got to the planning training bit. But yes, so I'm proposing 2,500.
Sorry, could you just clarify what you said? So you're collecting £2,500 a year until
We've
when?
been collecting for some time £2,500. We should, in theory, we should have bought these out of it, but I don't understand some other budget to get. I don't know how long we've been. It's about £13,000 at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So, I mean, for some time, this committee, it was agreed that this committee would have a budget. It was £5,000 to start with, but it's, you know, the world being the world, it's come down to £2,500. That money is there for you to spend, but what it's got a proviso that anything that's not spent goes into an earmarked reserve fund at the end of the financial year, and that money is goes towards the costs associated with updating the neighbourhood plan.
The original neighbourhood plan cost us £42,000.
yeah, that was including the election
Quite
and
a lot of
everything.
that
So
money came from grants.
yeah,
But the biggest expense, and it will be again, is if we want to deliver to every household,
yeah.
then that will take up a large chunk of it. Sorry.
When's the cycle due round again for a new
Right,
neighbourhood plan?
I will go into now because I sort of done a bit. I actually missed this bit in the training, but I've done it before. Effectively, what's happening is the MPPF is being updated, and with a massive increase of housing for Cornwall. I suppose it's about 10,000 actually up to 2030. We sort of said, but you're not providing any more infrastructure, and we don't think that your sum that you're doing, working it out, because they're trying to encourage people in the north to build, and it's finished in towns in the north to build, and it's finished up really affecting rural Cornwall. Cornwall Council have gone in and said, we simply don't have the developers or the people to work on the site, so we will not be able to achieve this. Heaven knows how the government is going to react, but I suspect they're going to take absolutely no notice.
It's almost like the job market in the UK. Like people will go where the work is if it's well-paid work.
Anyway, so it looks like that we will be getting. They will come back on the consultation. I think by the end of the year.
Yeah.
They will then produce a new MPPF, which may take longer than they think. At that point, Cornwall Council will then do its own new local plan, and one of the requirements, which I think is actually quite a good one, is you've got to be able to do these within 2 years. Their original worry was that there's a huge queue because the entire country will want to put in a new local plan, and there isn't enough people in Westminster to process them. But they're talking now about starting in 2026, is it? I mean, the date whizzes up to 2028, but effectively it will, and then that will take 2 years. Now, that doesn't stop us starting to really refreshing the neighbourhood plan. In fact, we went to a site visit, which we'll be looking at, and one of the architects was going, you must refresh your neighbourhood plan. And we're saying, no, we will not do that, because if we refreshed our neighbourhood plan and passed it, then the new local plan comes in. Well, exactly what happened. Exactly what happened to the Atlantic. They will take a generalised policy and override our detailed one. So we have to wait for the
senior policy to be there. Yeah.
So we are looking 2028, 2029, probably. Something like that.
So am I getting this right? Every so often you have a large spend when you update this plan. And this time round, what you're saying is
Well,
is
we've only
is
done
the
this is the first time.
okay, but is the expense going to be more than the last time you did
I don't
it?
think so.
Even though you've got a bigger housing
It's a
estate.
question of refreshing it. So there will be certain policies we look like the houses of multiple occupation, which is probably one of the most difficult ones.
I think they're going to streamline the refresh policy as well, so there's much less requirement to go to kind of,
Yeah.
you know, to not making fundamental changes. Much less requirement to go to
We've been collecting changes.
elections stuff.
And I mean, there's a lot more on sort of environmental stuff that we're quite vague on. So we would detail. I think the plan has stood up extremely well. So we might have to say update the character study because
Character
when we build
changes.
socking great skyscrapers, then obviously that changes the character of the area. There's no point having a policy saying only 4 when they just allowed something that's 6. So that sort of thing, but we won't need an expert to do that. I think we can do that ourselves. The big expense is sort of saying, well, we need to send everything to every household, which we do, and that costs a lot of money.
And it's incumbent on the town council to pay that.
It's a
expense.
town council document. Yeah.
So look, where I'm getting to on this is that if you're making a reduction from 5,000 to 2,500, but you're
So that has already.
That's what we've been given.
That was made a couple of years ago. We shifted down from 5. It did start off originally as 5. It was moved down to. Yeah, it's a good couple of years that we've just had a 2.5.
That ship has sailed, right? But what I'm saying is that you're arriving at bigger and bigger expenses as the number of households increase. And so that money has to come from somewhere. And are we saying that it's sufficient, our funds are sufficient to cover that expense?
I mean, last time for the house-to-house questionnaire, we got a lottery grant, and I think it cost us something like 10,000. I mean, one of the stupid things is they won't allow you to use the electoral roll, so you have to actually shove all the notification into all the second homes who are totally uninterested in it, which I found was very annoying. I don't think they changed that legislation. And then when we did the sort of final vote on it, we produced a leaflet, but we didn't have the money to circulate it, so we called for volunteers to deliver it. Amazing number of people complained it hadn't been delivered to them, but they didn't volunteer to deliver it in their street. It was very good.
There was 1 or 2 people that complained. I'm like, I know that's a fib because I delivered it.
Yes, exactly. So it's mainly making sure that we involve. I don't think the changes are huge. We still have a meeting scheduled for the neighbourhood hand every month. At the moment, we're just cancelling them and I will cancel the next one as well because we haven't got anything to discuss. But when we see how the local plan changes, then and there'll be things like. We know they're going to change the buffer zone on the cliff edge, so we will have to change that. But all we do is just copy what the experts do. So
But just to round this off, so we're happy with the EMRs at the moment?
I think so. I think we will have, by the time we start doing this, we'll have £20,000, which is, and there may yet be grants available, but it's going to be utter chaos because everyone will be doing it. You've got all the local plans going in, and then you've got people who are getting their first neighbourhood plan now is almost going to be out of date.
Yeah.
When the local plan comes in.
I can see the point they're doing it. So they've got the experience of doing it, and and so it's because if there's a change and they have to do a new, it's the first one they do, and the change has already happened. Nobody will have had the experience of that. So I get why people are rushing, but they've had 7, 8 years since neighbourhood plans were first touted, and it seems to be like people are suddenly saying, oh, maybe this is a worthwhile thing of doing.
Well, it is, but it took us. I think we started first talking about it in 2012.
Yeah.
We got it in 2019.
Gosh, yeah, it is now.
And then after 5 years, the plan has no value. It actually says, after, and we're over 5 years now.
Yeah.
And the policies need to be refreshed. So we're really stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, because they came up with this thing, didn't they? Of like, you could have a minor refresh or a major refresh, and it's like, it was very confusing. It's like, well, which?
And of course, part of our parish is not covered, which doesn't help.
Yeah.
But
well, no building in Priory Woods then.
So yes, the answer to your question is I think that's fine. And we throw the entire budget calculations out. We started putting extra in. But Duncan, from your perspective, do you think the amount's about right?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Can we minute that Duncan said yes?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So basically, your recommendation is that the Planning and Licensing Committee budget for the financial year 25-26 is recommended to the Governance and Resources Committee.
Yeah. I propose that.
Second.
Right,
Even if we changed it, they'd say no anyway. So.
It's not totally appropriate, but while I'm on the subject of the training, there was one worrying thing that came out of the training, whereas, as you know, I think we're still the only people who have a coastal change management area. And they had a presentation by the coastal people, and they suddenly announced that our CCMA wasn't right. It wasn't particularly bad. They're worried about it because the coastal change management area policies are supposed to say it's not only don't build near to the cliff, it's also what do you do when the cliff starts going.
Okay.
So if they ever built these...
Well, ours was the first, wasn't it? So,
good example, you know. The cliff is getting nearer, a couple of big falls, and what are you going to do? Are you going to move things back? And we haven't done that half. I know we haven't done that half, but I was a bit concerned. I mean, you listened to it, Duncan.
That's a massive piece of work for an area that's already built. You know, if it's virgin countryside and it's saying if you build here and if it goes down, so you might have a condition that you have to demolish the building and just start again, or you might. But for buildings that are already there, you can't move a street backwards. You know, I mean, it's like
it's the assets that would go, and the assets that would go are the road.
The port especially,
And I mean,
and the tram tracks. The tram tracks are very close to going.
Yeah. Some of the tram tracks, all of it. But,
well, it only needs one bit of it to go, doesn't it? And you can't use the rest of it.
And then
right
down the bottom of Porth Beach, I mean, those three, and thanks to Whipsodary, I mean, you know, you're saying this is not.
I've worked out why.
10 years away. This is something.
The reason that the Duchy of Cornwall aren't stepping in is because obviously the Duchy make money every time the lifeboats launch. So if people fall in, they make some money, don't they? Well, they do. They make money every time somebody drowns at sea.
Such cynicism.
Well, they do. They literally do.
Anyway, that's I have sent an email to the cliff person and said, Reece, you know, I hear what you say. Having argued with him in the training, it's suddenly very boring to be getting very.
Which cliff have you written to? Is it Dangerous Cliff or Unstable Cliff?
He hasn't. Surprise! He hasn't replied. So I don't seem to have an answer to this query. How dare you insult my coastal change management area?
Yes.
I was very proud of it. Right. I think, are we changing our terms of reference?
We certainly aren't, not this evening anyway.
No. I will emphasise that we have a quorum of 4, and I doubt whether, I mean, I would be very surprised if there is another by-election, if there's going to be a vacancy. So it is, we're getting remarkably close to the time when we're begging Steve to arrive, because it would have been embarrassing tonight had we not managed to, because people are coming and people are coming.
I came charging in on me white horse.
He's one of our three reserves, so it's very good of you to show. But I would urge everybody, if you can possibly make it to these every other week meetings, please do so. Other correspondence. So we got there wasn't anything terribly exciting in the list of decision making. I think they all agreed with us.
No, but in terms of other correspondence, we got 2 appeal notifications.
Oh yes.
One of which is a householder, so we don't comment on. There's no process for us to comment further on those. But the other one is the key Prow Park, and there's a deadline for resubmission of information for the 2nd of December.
I had a look at our comment last time, and it was all, we haven't had this information, we haven't had that information, so that's why we objected. Personally, I think we should continue to object. But the basis of what they're presenting is saying, well, there's no trees there anymore. And you think, well, no, because you took them away. Apparently, the officer recommended approval. I haven't actually read or listened to the...
I can't
they went to
remember what it
committee,
was, yeah.
and the committee said, no, you've destroyed what it looks like. Flood people seem to think it's all right, despite all the... So I think we should be looking... We've got 10 days, have we, until we have to...
10, 12 days, yeah.
Right, but that will be before our next meeting. So I was proposing, I don't know if anybody's going to volunteer to actually look at what we should be saying by that. I mean, do you have any views on Prow Park? Because where we are, I would say it starts from the premise that we would normally have supported an extension of a successful business. Only they haven't.
I broadly support the concept of a mixed industrial retail area, because it's a vibrant part of businesses that wouldn't necessarily be suited to high town centre rents and all the rest of it. What I really struggle with Prow Park, and I know it's not a planning issue, is the entire site is inaccessible. It's all upstairs, it's all steps, it's all things. There are only one or two areas of it that are fully accessible for disabled people. So we are if we allow it, we are allowing people to be designed out of using their own town. And I just don't think it's acceptable in any way in the 21st century to say, right, these shops are upstairs, you people can't get to them.
Whereas you think it could be designed.
A really good point. I mean, if they had come with a sensible plan, which actually sort of said, we're going to remove this bit of the undergrowth, but we'll keep a boundary to protect all the adjacent neighbours and all the rest of it, then I think we would have been quite sympathetic, because we do support business, and there are some good things about Prow Park. But the way it has been done, and that land is, I know though they say it's not a flood area, but that land is notoriously
There's
wet.
a leak that's been stopped up. The one that runs down to Dorset Grange has been stopped up. So wherever...
Anybody would like to send me or Duncan, send them to me. If you've got any comments on it, I'll try and read what we've said and come up with some, and email everybody around. But I think on the whole, although there are some very positive things about it, I just don't accept this argument. Now we've chopped down the trees, there are no trees.
Because they've done it by creeping retrospective application and everything. You've not had the ability to say, hang on, design these people in. Do you know what I mean? Because, if as the demographic of the population changes and people do become older and more disabled, just from a business resilience point of view, you want to make your business accessible to as many people as possible.
Well, so more or less the whole application is retrospective. How many have we had? Dozens.
Well, I found that thing, didn't I? That near my mum, that actually, an inspector, he got all, I think, he went to the inspector of the High Court, and they struck down the original retrospective application, which destroyed all the subsequent planning. It reset the entire thing. So they haven't, this is in Hampshire, they haven't taken the entire theatre down because they say, like, no, there's an error in law made here, this application doesn't meet these conditions, and the rest of it just falls.
You sent it to me, it was really interesting. So if anybody wants to read it, all the papers are online and their cases online. I think we definitely have to submit something new.
So when do we have to respond to that access?
2nd of December, isn't it?
No, yes, something
2nd of December.
Oh, so it's actually a fixed date, is it?
Yeah, it's the 2nd of December, and I mean, clearly we need to update it. So I'm sort of getting the impression. I mean, I think there are some positive things about it as well, but it's, we need to put in something that's balanced. But what we've got at the moment is really out of date, because they have now submitted quite a lot of stuff. Pages and pages of actually. So I want to go back and sort of read the officer's report and see what the committee was saying. I was surprised they turned it down. Actually, I thought this would get through. I thought, because of course Cornwall Council, is Cornwall Council's land?
Yeah, that's what we've been led to believe.
And the officer said they had the right to cut things down. Well, not if they don't own it or not. Well, that was a bit iffy. So Cornwall Council has finished up with mud on its face. So the committee and the property people, the planning and the property
But you've
people.
got if that link thing that goes from where the Kingsford Pub used to be back round onto Trevemper, that application will be in there somewhere. So you will have neighbouring issues and everything. So.
I'm interested in what you're saying about the leak, because I know people have come to us from Bedell Meadows and they've been saying the flooding has increased.
Dorset Range stopped up. It's no pond there anymore.
But if you put all of that on paper, that would be really useful.
I can't put it on paper because it's not there anymore.
No, but the stuff you know about here, because that I think would be really useful, so we can sort of sound like we know what we're talking about. So that's is everybody okay with that approach? We'll need to make a decision by, I guess, the end of next week. Is it? When is the 2nd of December?
It's the day before our next meeting,
usual.
so...
So it's there's a fortnight Monday
So all comments by the end of next week,
from last
please.
Monday.
So I can have something to do over the weekend. Right. Is there anything else I've forgotten, Duncan?
No, that was the correspondence. So the only other stuff is the stuff for information only. Obviously, you've got a list of decisions, not a huge
It
list.
was interesting, the one on St John's Road with the big corner dormer, that's been withdrawn.
Yeah.
Well, that usually means that they're not going to get through.
Yeah.
But all the other weekly decisions are all perfectly straightforward.
I think that's got
Yeah.
approved, isn't it?
Okay.
And then the other point was that we were going to have a presentation this evening regarding the former Dewson Depot site at Mount Wise.
Yeah.
Joanna and I attended we had a lovely walk around the site, and we had a very nice pasty as well in the Acorn Blue offices, and we sat down and watched a group of very highfalutin architects, urban planners, landscape designers
It was fascinating for starters.
redesign most of the scheme, really. So that's why they aren't here this evening. They will be here
So it will be a 5:30.
on the 3rd.
It'll be a 5:30 start on the 3rd.
There's some fascinating history in those sites. Because we've got Camp House on the corner, which is the old assay building for the silver mine.
Yes, so that has been converted, I think.
Yeah.
But what they got very excited about the old pumping, or it's not pumping station, whatever it is. It's a beautiful
There's a
building.
reservoir.
Oh yeah, that's got the reservoir.
Stood on top of the reservoir.
I mean, my main point was you've got Mayfield Park behind, you know, and it's very vertical, and they took one look and said you need to be horizontal so you can get the solar panels because it's a sun trap. You know, don't do it the way you're trying to do it. They
We've
wanted.
seen a couple of things try to go in there, haven't we? The one that was kind of like
Oh,
a closer
seen
thing.
about three.
That was quite awful. That was quite bad. They were just trying to squeeze it in.
You've got the beautiful views going out towards the over town, towards the Atlantic Hotel and out to
Yeah.
sea. And all the houses are facing each other.
Yeah.
None of them are looking that way.
Yeah, so that was interesting. I spoke to the policeman about opening up to Mayfield, and he said, well, as long as it's not done by
don't
little
go back.
lanes, he said, no lanes. I don't want, if we're going to do that, that's fine. But it's got to be a good open.
Yes, at
So-
5:30 on the
So it'd be very interesting to
Tuesday.
slot
slot
it.
before, it's the Tuesday
Tuesday.
meeting.
Tuesday the 3rd.
Tuesday
Tuesday
the
the
3rd.
3rd,
Yeah.
5:30 starts, so we can see what these guys are.
But they are
Redesigned.
totally, apparently, you know, the way they were talking, they're going to have to totally redesign what they're doing, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Did they say that they can see it from where they live, so it's going to be nice anyway? Because that's what they can very often say.
Yes.
That's
They always
exactly-
do. We can see it from where we are, so it's going to be nice.
That's exactly what they said. They
I
said,
know.
we're only
Yeah,
doing it, we're not doing it to make a
Tallest
profit.
house in the world.
We're not doing it to make a profit, we're actually, it's right next door to their office.
Yeah.
But it would be great to have that because it's completely wasted space.
Yeah, totally.
The other issue, of course, is it's commercial land which our plan protects. But
It's not
there's
been
no
commercial
one,
use for 15 years, though, has
yeah,
it? So-
no, there's not been a nibble to.
No. It's no good. You can't put modern commercial deliveries in there. You've got large trucks that just can't turn up that road anyway. So they're just, nobody would even give it a second look, really.
But it's part of our neighbourhood plan, which we will have to say we accept that there isn't going to be any commercial. I mean, it would be lovely to have a shop or something. They were talking about using the putting offices into the houses and saying it's a work and live and work environment, which I thought was quite a neat way of
Offices
doing
are fine. They tried to do live work after bombing in places like Plymouth and stuff like that. And they ended up with light industrial, which quite quickly became like car repair places. And you end up with noisy work next to housing. So it has to be, whatever it is, the mixed work-live has to be quiet work. It can't, otherwise you end up with...
The contribution was just an office, so I don't think it was any more than that. Anyway, it's going to be quite an interesting one, so we will see what they have to say on this 3rd, isn't it?
Tuesday the 3rd.
Okay, so other than that, I don't think there's anything to talk about, so thank you very much, everyone. A relatively early finish tonight, and, well, I'll probably talk to you before the 3rd anyway.
That's
but,
right.
And that's